Welcome to Mysteries in Crime, where we unravel the darkest corners of true crime. Tonight, we explore the curious case of Natalia Grace, a tale of deception, fear, and unsettling questions that still haunt those involved. Clue question: if Natalia Grace's real age had been definitively proven, how would that have changed the outcome of the case? Natalia Grace's case began as a heartwarming story, a young orphan adopted into a loving family. But soon, unsettling suspicions arose. Who was Natalia Grace? Was she really a child in need, or was she something far more sinister? What started as an adoption turned into a chilling nightmare. In the quiet town of Westfield, Indiana, in 2010, Michael and Christine Barnett opened their home to Natalia Grace, a 6-year-old orphan from Ukraine. At least, that was what they believed. For a while, things seemed normal. The Barnetts welcomed her as their daughter, showering her with affection, but soon, troubling signs emerged. Natalia's behavior was unsettling, unnatural. She spoke in a manner far too mature for a child. She had an eerie knowledge of adult topics. Then there was the most alarming discovery: her body. Despite her tiny frame, her features told another story. She had adult-like characteristics. She even had signs of puberty. Doubts turned into paranoia. Christine claimed to find Natalia's hidden documents, evidence suggesting she was much older than they had been told. And then came the real horror. The Barnetts alleged that Natalia threatened them, tried to poison Christine, and even spoke of killing them in their sleep. What had begun as an act of charity was now a terrifying mystery. Desperate for answers, the Barnetts took a drastic step. They moved Natalia into an apartment, alone. The girl they had once called their daughter was now abandoned, left to fend for herself. But was she a victim of misunderstanding, or was she truly dangerous? At the heart of this story is Natalia Grace. Who was she really? Officially, Natalia was a Ukrainian orphan with a rare form of dwarfism known as spondyloepiphyseal dysplasia. She was reportedly 6 years old when Michael and Christine Barnett adopted her in 2010. But soon after joining their family, doubts surfaced about her true identity. Natalia appeared physically small, but there were inconsistencies. She had adult-like dental features, the ability to understand mature topics, and an inexplicable air of manipulation, at least according to the Barnetts. Christine claimed that Natalia was posing as a child and behaving in ways that frightened the family. Allegations ranged from violent threats to disturbing incidents, such as attempting to pour bleach into Christine's coffee. Despite these accusations, others saw Natalia differently. Some who interacted with her described a vulnerable girl, confused and abandoned, struggling to understand why her parents had forsaken her. In 2013, a medical evaluation presented shocking findings. Natalia was not a child, but a full-grown adult, possibly in her 20s. The Barnetts, convinced that they had been deceived, sought legal action to have her birth year changed from 2003 to 1989, officially making her 22 years old at the time of the adoption. The court granted this request. But was this an error in judgment, or a sinister manipulation by the Barnetts to escape responsibility? If Natalia was the victim, then who were the true culprits? Michael and Christine Barnett were once seen as the perfect couple, intelligent, successful, and nurturing. Christine was a published author and parenting expert, while Michael was an entrepreneur. They had 3 biological sons, one of whom was a child prodigy. Their decision to adopt Natalia seemed to be an act of goodwill, But soon, their loving facade cracked. Christine became convinced that Natalia was a dangerous adult masquerading as a child. According to her, Natalia made chilling threats, attempted to push her into an electric fence, and once stood over the couple's bed with a knife. Michael, on the other hand, seemed to waver. In some accounts, he claimed he feared for his family's safety. But later, he testified that Christine was the mastermind, pushing the narrative that Natalia was an imposter. In 2013, after successfully changing Natalia's age in court, the Barnetts moved her into an apartment and left her there. They paid rent for a few months, then vanished from her life completely, relocating to Canada with their biological children. 2 years later, authorities charged them with child neglect. The case became a media sensation, sparking widespread debate. Was Natalia a helpless child abandoned by cruel guardians? Or was she a con artist who had deceived everyone around her? The lines between victim and perpetrator blurred, and the truth remained elusive. The case of Natalia Grace is not a typical crime story. There was no blood-stained crime scene, no midnight escape, no conclusive villain. But make no mistake, a crime was committed. The question was, by whom? Let's go back to 2013. By this time, Michael and Christine Barnett were adamant Natalia was not a child. They took her to a doctor who supposedly agreed with their suspicions. She had pubic hair. She had a menstrual cycle. She spoke with an advanced vocabulary and seemed disturbingly aware of how to manipulate situations. But was this medical evidence, or merely the Barnetts' interpretation? The Barnetts presented their findings to a judge who shockingly granted their request to change Natalia's birth year, making her 22 years old on paper. This meant she was now legally an adult, stripping her of any rights as a child. No foster care, no protective services. Shortly after, Christine and Michael rented an apartment in Lafayette, Indiana, for Natalia. They stocked the fridge, left her with money for rent, and abandoned her. According to neighbors, Natalia was often seen wandering outside, confused and alone. She claimed she'd been left behind, that her parents had vanished without warning. She did not attend school. She had no legal guardians. Meanwhile, the Barnetts had moved to Canada with their biological children. Their reasoning? They were fleeing for their safety. Christine claimed that Natalia had tried to kill them multiple times. But was this claim supported by any real evidence? One of the most alarming accusations was that Natalia had attempted to poison Christine by pouring bleach into her coffee. However, no police reports had been filed at the time of the alleged incident. Similarly, Christine claimed that Natalia tried to push her into an electric fence, but again, no official record existed. So, was Natalia really a threat? According to some medical experts, dwarfism can cause accelerated physical development, which might explain why she had signs of puberty. Others argued that even if Natalia was older than 6, that did not justify abandoning her in an apartment alone. Things took an even stranger turn when another family, the Mann's family, took Natalia in after the Barnetts' departure. They treated her like a child and saw no indication that she was a grown woman. They even celebrated her birthdays as if she were still a minor. So, who was lying? In 2019, the Barnetts were charged with child neglect and endangerment. The case was set to go to trial, but the legal system faced an unusual problem, since the courts had legally reclassified Natalia as an adult. Could she still be considered a victim of child abandonment? The case remains a tangled web of deception, fear, and unanswered questions. Did the Barnetts knowingly adopt an adult con artist? Or did they destroy the life of a child out of misplaced paranoia? The truth remains elusive and terrifying. When police were first alerted to Natalia Grace's abandonment, the case presented an unusual challenge. Typically, child neglect cases involve clear evidence: underage victims, verifiable birth records, and direct harm caused by guardians. But Natalia's legal age had already been changed by a judge. Could the Barnetts still be held accountable for abandoning her? Investigators began by interviewing neighbors and medical professionals who had evaluated Natalia over the years. Reports from different doctors conflicted. Some said Natalia appeared much older than her stated age, while others insisted she behaved like a child. Police also examined financial records, which showed the Barnetts had continued paying for Natalia's apartment for a short period after leaving, possibly as a way to justify their actions. But eventually, the payments stopped, and Natalia was left to fend for herself. The case moved slowly, weighed down by its bizarre nature. If Natalia was an adult, had a crime even been committed? One of the most significant hurdles in the case was proving Natalia's true age. Forensic methods like dental analysis and bone density scans were used in an attempt to determine whether she was a child or an adult. However, these tests are not exact science, particularly for individuals with certain medical conditions, like Natalia's dwarfism. Medical records from Ukraine were also difficult to verify, adding another layer of mystery. Her birth certificate, the document at the center of the controversy, was based on an adoption report, not forensic evidence. Without a definitive way to determine Natalia's real age, the legal battle became an ethical debate. Was she a neglected child or a manipulative adult? The truth remained frustratingly unclear. The case of Natalia Grace divided the public. Some saw her as a helpless victim, an orphan cruelly abandoned by those who had vowed to care for her. Others believed the Barnetts, convinced that she was a dangerous imposter who had deceived them. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some speculated that Natalia was part of a larger fraud scheme, moving from family to family under false identities. Others feared that the Barnetts had fabricated their claims to escape legal and financial responsibility. In Indiana, locals debated. Had Natalia been a threat all along, or had she been failed by the very system meant to protect her? The media transformed Natalia's case into a sensationalized mystery. Headlines compared her story to horror films like Orphan, in which an adult woman disguises herself as a child to infiltrate a family. News outlets interviewed experts, doctors, and even Natalia herself. She insisted that she was a child when adopted and had no malicious intent. The Barnetts, meanwhile, stood by their claims, painting themselves as victims. Documentaries, interviews, and television specials fueled speculation. But with conflicting reports and a lack of conclusive evidence, one question remained. Was Natalia Grace a victim or a con artist? The case of Natalia Grace gave rise to multiple theories, each more unsettling than the last. Natalia was a child, abandoned by the Barnetts. This theory suggests that Natalia was truly a young girl with dwarfism, unfairly accused of being an adult. Advocates point to inconsistencies in the medical evaluations, arguing that the Barnetts manipulated the legal system to absolve themselves of responsibility. Natalia was an adult running a long con. The Barnetts and their supporters claimed that Natalia knew exactly what she was doing. Her alleged violent behavior, advanced knowledge, and supposed menstrual cycle were cited as evidence that she was much older than she claimed. The Barnetts fabricated the story for self-preservation, Some believe that the Barnetts became overwhelmed with raising Natalia and fabricated a disturbing narrative to justify abandoning her. They had a history of promoting their son's prodigious talents. Was Natalia simply discarded because she did not fit their perfect image? Even now, the truth remains elusive. In 2019, Michael and Christine Barnett were charged with child neglect for abandoning Natalia in an apartment. However, their defense argued that because Natalia had been legally reclassified as an adult, they could not be guilty of neglecting a child. Michael's trial took place first. He was acquitted. The jury found that there was not enough evidence to prove he had knowingly abandoned a minor. The charges against Christine were later dropped. Natalia, now living with another family, continues to claim she was a child at the time of adoption. To this day, there is no definitive proof of her real age. Had the justice system failed a helpless orphan? Or had it allowed a potential fraudster to walk free? Some questions may never have answers. Despite years of investigation, the truth about Natalia Grace remains unresolved. Was she truly a child when the Barnetts adopted her, cruelly abandoned when they decided she was too much to handle? Or was she an adult who manipulated her way into their lives under false pretenses? Even now, medical experts disagree. No conclusive proof of her real age exists. The case leaves haunting questions. If Natalia was a child, why did a judge approve the age change? If she was an adult, how did she successfully live as a child for so long? And perhaps the most chilling question, could this happen again? This case forced authorities to reevaluate how age verification is handled in adoption cases. It also raised concerns about parental responsibility. Even if the Barnetts were correct, did they handle the situation ethically? The media frenzy surrounding Natalia's story blurred the lines between truth and speculation. The case inspired documentaries, debates, and endless theories, but no satisfying conclusion. What do you think? Clue question. If Natalia Grace's real age had been definitively proven, how would that have changed the outcome of the case? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. As always, stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay safe.